Well, joining me live now is Liberal Senator Holly Hughes and Assistant Immigration Minister Matt Thistlethwaite. Good morning to you both. I hope you've had a good weekend. Holly, bear with me for just a moment. Matt, Immigration Minister Tony Burke was asked in question time last week if he has been lobbied by anyone in his electorate for a visa for an individual from the Gaza war zone since October 7. He answered by saying he defers matters coming to him as Minister from his own electorate to you. How many of these matters have you dealt with, and what have you done with cases referred to you by Minister Burke regarding applications coming from family members or contacts from his electorate?
Good morning, Kenny. That's correct. To avoid a conflict of interest, any matters relating to visa issues in my electorate will be referred to Tony Burke, and any from his electorate will be referred to me. To date, I haven't received any referrals. There's been cases of visas from Ukraine and from Gaza that are being processed in the normal way. They're going through the normal security checks that ASIO undertake, and they're generally processed by the department. And Tony Burke's given those figures to the Parliament about how many visa applications there's been from Gaza and how many have been approved and how many have been rejected. But so far, I haven't had any referred to me from his electorate.
OK, so there's been none that have been given as a direct result of lobbying to Minister Burke and then transferred to your office so far?
Yeah, that's correct. There's been none that have been referred to me from that process. OK.
Holly, Labor frontbencher Ed Husick said on Sunday visitor visas instead of refugee visas were granted to people coming from Gaza because they are faster to process and have different levels of security vetting. Is it just a simple reality because of the utter dire situation in Gaza, we just need to get them here faster?
Well, the question is, why do we need to get them here faster? I think the number one job of any government is to keep Australians safe. And if we look at numbers that have been taken out of Gaza around the world, we've got the UK's taken 1, the US has taken 16. If you look at countries that are neighbouring like Syria and Jordan, they've taken 0. Yet Andrew Giles has given 3,000 tourist visas to Gazans. And what we know is tourist visas require significant less vetting than if they were coming in on a refugee visa. And this is just extraordinary. We know from polling done in Gaza the overwhelming level of support for Hamas, which is a registered terror organisation. Now, there are people that fully support from Gaza what occurred on October 7. There are those who are anti-Semitic in Gaza. And of course, there are obviously some Gazans who don't support Hamas and don't hold those views, but they have been consistently found to be in the minority. So why the rush to bring people here without correct security vetting is, I think, something that could be potentially putting Australians at risk.
Holly,
and I think it's extraordinary that none have been referred through. I'll tell you why they probably haven't been referred through, because none of them have had a visa denied. People come to our offices when visas are denied or lengthy times to process. Clearly, there's been no referrals from Tony Burke to Matt or vice versa, potentially because all the visas are just being approved.
Holly, just a follow-up question here to you.
That's not true at all. Okay. That's not true. If I can respond to that, Kenny, that's not true. And well, Tony Burke answered the question in the Parliament last week that there's been about 7,500 rejections of visas from people from the Gaza area. So to say that there's been no rejections is simply not true. We've got 2 major conflict zones in the world.
Clearly not from people here.
Ukraine and Gaza. And there are people that are applying for visas from both those regions to Australia on a whole host of different visas. And they
I don't think we're putting Ukraine and Gaza in the same category.
OK, let me just move on because I do want to touch on another issue, guys.
Wow.
Holly, Liberal leader Peter Dutton is seeking legal advice after independent MP Ali Steggall called him a racist over his stance opposing the government giving Palestinian visas. What's your view of the language used by Ms Steggall last week, and should she apologise?
I think she should absolutely apologise, but it's so typical of those of the left. When they have nothing left in their argument, they go for personal smears. We see it time and time again, whether it's in the chamber or outside of the chamber. The ideological driven left, so intellectually bereft, all they have to go on is personal smears time and time again. We know that the Teals are nothing but greens in a Gucci jacket, and it's just appalling that they are basically behaving like useful idiots for those Hamas supporters.
Matt, Anthony Albanese and Labor ministers have been quiet so far on this issue. What's your view?
Well, I don't think that we should be using inflammatory language against each other. I think we should be trying to work together as Australians
So
to see how we can help. We can help. You know, Australia's got a great tradition in the wake of World War II. The world came together and said we can't allow this to happen again. So there were a number of conventions and treaties that were put in place to assist those that were fleeing war zones and to help out. And Australia's been part of that, and we've got a great tradition of being part of that. But that requires us to work together as a nation to help people in these difficult circumstances. Now, most of this is temporary. People are fleeing persecution, they're fleeing their families being destroyed, their homes being destroyed on a temporary basis. They want to go back. So Australia's trying to help out where we can, but if we're going to do that properly, we need to work together as a nation and not trying to pit one Australian against another, not trying to divide the nation. Let's come together and work out how we can help for this period.
OK, Matt Thistlethwaite and Holly Hughes.
Who's called out Zali? Who's called out Zali, Matt?
We'll leave it there, Holly. Thank you.
We're out of her language.
We're out of time, Holly. Thank you so much for joining us, to you both, and good luck in Parliament this week.